Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Channel Zero, Season 1, Episode 6. It is the season finale of Candle Cove, the end of this first story. Full spoilers for the episode, of course, as always. It's funny, actually, I feel like this is probably the most straightforward episode, which is kind of a weird thing to say, given...
How cerebral it is the entire way through.
Yes, it's very surreal and cerebral, but at the same time, I do think it's the one that's the most clear
It
of
make
what's going
it
on.
makes
Yeah,
sense because all the cards are on the table.
yeah. Everything's been building up to it, so it all sort of falls into place. I think there was some of the best imageries probably in this episode. Um,
Oh, absolutely.
I think when Mike goes into, I guess we'll call it Candle Cove.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other world that Eddie has created with his power, where he exists. A lot of the stuff in there just looks fantastic and creepy. The skeleton dude burning him, like, set himself on fire and
Oh
like
man,
walk.
even before he sets himself on fire, where he's just kind of pacing at the
Mm,
end of the corridor. My God, that is like it's somehow terrifying, but it looks amazing.
yeah, there was so much of this. Um, Now, I did think there was a couple of elements of this that were actually fairly predictable,
Yeah.
which isn't necessarily a complaint. It's just, as soon as Mike said there might be something I asked you to do later, I immediately knew what it was.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, it's certainly once you realise that Eddie wants to come back out into the real world in Mike's body and use his body, you kind of get, okay, right, well, Mike has to die. He's going to have to
It's
sacrifice himself to save people.
It's almost a compliment that it's predictable, though, because it means it's done exactly what it's supposed to do in its storytelling. It's given us everything that we need to know to understand these final moments.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, in fact, I think that final, it's not actually the final moment because it goes back in
It's the one
time.
that I could have sworn was the final shot
Yeah,
until it
yeah,
carried on playing.
yeah. I agree. I actually, if I have a complaint about the finale, it's that I don't understand why it did the last like 10 minutes out of order. Like,
It's literally just there's like 3 or 4 minutes at the end where could have probably just cut them out, left it a little bit ambiguous. You get the idea. I
well,
just
you could have cut them out, I suppose. I didn't feel like I needed to go back in time and see what Marla actually did, but at the same time, I get why it's there, and it's quite an emotional moment and scene, so I actually appreciate seeing it. But I don't understand why it was put after the jump ahead, because I feel like that moment where we see sort of the spirit, if you will, of Mike, because presumably he's now in Candle Cove as well. So the idea that Eddie's still trying to call out to kids, but Mike's there to protect them, Mike's there to stop him from doing whatever he's doing. So very simple and symbolic. It comes on the TV, Lily's watching, and we see him turn it off. And it's just this wonderful little moment of him protecting her. And presumably he's protecting all of the kids now. And it's like, it's yin and yang. It's the good brother and the evil brother, and he's it's balance to the force, if you will. And it's this wonderful moment. And I could have sworn it was going to fade to black.
because it did this gorgeous slow kind of pan one way and then back,
Yeah.
and it was a gorgeous shot, and then it cuts to something else. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was really weird. Like, that really should have been the final scene. That should have been the final moment.
The only reason it was out of order is so that while we were watching Mike turn off the TV, we could think like there's still a question of whether or not he's alive or not, as a viewer.
Yeah, that's true. The one thing it gives is that we don't actually know if it's Eddie that comes out and makes body, and if he's still around, like if he's actually there. Now, the way he turned off the TV told me everything. Like, I got it all from that shot, but I get that there was like more of a concrete answer you might have needed, to say no, he didn't get out. Things are fine.
I agree, which is kind of why I don't really feel like I needed these last couple of minutes at the stuff after that scene, like because you get everything you needed, and it was such a perfect ending shot.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it being there. I just have a problem with it going after that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like I am fine. I think the scene of her killing him was actually really emotional, and Eddie turning around and being angry, and then seeing his brother now be a kid, and that they're both in there. Like, I think that all worked really well. I just think it's weird that it's before. Like, I still think the emotional impact of him turning off the TV would have still hit
Yeah,
quite
it
well.
probably would have.
Yeah. So That would be my one complaint. I don't think it's a huge deal, but it is kind of weird. I don't know why they did
Yeah,
that.
it's easily my biggest complaint, maybe about the entire series, to be honest,
Yeah, it's I
because it
don't
was
know.
it was properly jarring when it cut to something else instead of to black.
Yeah, very very weird. But no, I think in terms of an emotional climax, the entire thing worked really well. The idea that because he even like Mike's entire character from the start of the show, he's messed up because he's having these memories and these visions, and Eddie's calling to him, and it's really messing with his head. But even his job was a child therapist. Like his entire thing, his entire life is to be try and help kids. Ever since what happened with his brother happened, that's been his entire life's mission. And the idea that he is now actively the force against him in this other world.
Yeah, and I love how, when he's talking to his brother in that world, and he's not talking to him like his brother, he is talking to him like a therapist to a child. Like it is all just so well done in that sense.
Yeah, I really like the scene where Marley gets stabbed, which I know sounds like that sounds like a really weird sentence out of context, but there's something about two middle-aged women and one of them like try to brutally murder the other one, which is such a like usually in a
A little
movie
bit
or
of a fancy for you, is it, Pete?
no usually in like a movie or a TV show, right, you typically have teenagers being killed. You'll have a man murdering a woman. That's quite normal in
Yeah.
stories. But to see two women who are like in their 50s, pushing 60, whatever, like to see one of them try to murder another one and have it be that violent and have like Marla screaming out was really chilling. Like it was actually,
Yeah, it was.
and I thought she was going to die and she didn't, but it was quite a
And
dark moment and I
I,
actually really appreciated that.
I think it was important that it was like the hook again,
Yeah.
just to, keep it in line with everything else.
But no, like her screaming out was really, it was affecting. Like I was like, oh man, this is like I'm not used to seeing someone this age be murdered in this sort of like
Yeah.
very open way. Like normally, like in a lot of shows, that even if there is a murder, it'll cut away at the last second. You get that they're being murdered, but you don't get this prolonged suffering of hearing them scream.
I think the fact that it was quite physically active as well, like
Yeah,
typically if there is like an older woman being killed, like it does happen occasionally. It is usually quite quick because they don't fight back that much. There's not much of a struggle. You know what I mean?
yeah. This was whereas this was more of a mano a mano
Yeah.
type of fight in a weird way. So no, I thought it was a really good conclusion to the show. I thought it wrapped up the story really in a really cohesive way because, like we say, everything slotted into place to the point where some of it was kind of predictable. I don't know if I was ever going to call that the Tooth Child was actually just straight up Eddie.
No, I think we were expecting a little bit more, but at the same time, it makes sense.
It does, but I think I was just expecting it to be a bit more complex than that.
Yeah, same.
But no, like he can come into our world, but he has to do it as this. He has to come in through presumably all the teeth of the children that he is, taking
Yeah.
teeth from over the years. So no, wonderfully creepy, touching ending. I feel like we're wrapping up really quickly on this. I don't know, like
Because, like you said, it was quite a
yeah,
straightforward ending. For as much as the show played with the mystery and the ideas of what was happening in the first, like maybe 3, 4 episodes, these last couple, it's been no, we get what's going on now. Let's just tell the story and finish it off.
yeah. Because I mean, we got in the last episode that the evil power, the evil thing that's going on, came from Eddie.
Yeah,
All of this comes from him. Um, I mean, I guess the only real question I would have is maybe what was the plan with all the kids? Like all the kids followed Mrs. Booth.
mm,
And obviously we see Gary actually like talk his kids back down, and like, which is is kind of touching in and of itself that he was able to sort of break the spell, the
yeah.
so cool. But what was the plan with the kids? Was that just a case of Eddie holding them hostage to force
Well, it
Mike
was
into play?
partially that, and partially it was still his grudge, wasn't it? Like,
Mm.
because a reason that all this started was the bullies.
Yeah, they beat him up and they break his finger. Yeah.
Right, and I think then he continues targeting kids because he is still a kid. Why is he going to go after the adults? He's going to go after things that are his level. Like that's what he can handle.
Yeah, yeah, that makes some sense. But no, satisfying. Very
Oh,
satisfying.
definitely, and I think it'll watch very well as a cohesive whole, like 6 episode show. Like if you watch the whole thing in one go, I think it should pay off pretty nicely.
Yeah. Actually, Joe was scene I really liked early on is when Lily's mum and Mike's ex-wife, or current wife but separated, shows up to the house and like wants to know where her daughter is, and he can't really say because she won't understand, and even Marla can't say because even though she's standing there and wants to defend him, it's like, how do you explain this? Like,
Yeah.
what do you say? And it's funny because we've not even seen that much of her, but when she screamed, "Where is she?" Like when she loses her temper and like screams at him, like I actually thought that was a really affecting bit of acting there. I was like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I feel like you said, we haven't seen much of her, but she was impactful. Like even after, when Lily's okay, she comes in, she's with her, and she's talking to Marla, and she's like, "Oh, maybe you should stay with us." And no, she had a lot of impact in the short amount of time she had there on screen.
Yeah. So no. Uh, but no, I think just to go back to that scene where we see him turn off the channel or turn off the TV to show us that Mike is like protecting the kids. I think it's just interesting how oddly uplifting the ending is. Like I don't know if I was expecting such a hopeful ending.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, the message says, yeah, bad stuff happens, but you can fight against it.
Yeah. It just, I think because so much of the imagery and the tone reminded me of something like Silent Hill, and if you've ever played those games, like those are like there's no
Nothing,
hope. You're
nothing good
doomed.
ever comes out of it.
If you're already in Silent Hill, you're done. You're a goner.
Pretty much.
Accept it. Whereas here, this actually did have quite an uplifting ending. So, now admittedly, that was based on. I mean, my comparison there is based on nothing but imagery and just like when I first seen the first like, images of the Tooth Child and all that, it felt like a Silent Hill esque
To be
thing.
fair, I feel like even in this episode we said it's straightforward, but the cerebral nature of how it played out did still feel like Silent Hill esque.
Oh yeah, when he's in the Candle Cove sort of universe and he's like going
Yeah,
through the doors and he sees those kids with the blood in their faces and all that, and
yeah.
yeah, that was very Silent Hill esque.
Also, Jawbones is terrifying. What is it he calls him? The
Stealer.
skin stealer. I don't know what it is, but he is terrifying in that universe.
Oh yeah, it's because it's after he burns himself, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
but
he's walking around as this melted
yeah,
thing.
absolutely horrifying.
Which by the way reminds me, my favourite transition of the episode is when he opens his face.
Oh yeah, and it goes to the inside, like into the hallway.
And it's like there's almost another face inside it getting out as it fades to the hallway. But
Oh, it's great stuff.
yeah, good. So yeah, I thoroughly recommend Channel Zero Candle Cove. If you're into this type of horror story, I think. Now, admittedly, if you're watching a review sort of reaction recap of the finale, you've probably watched it all already. But I liked it. I enjoyed it quite a lot. I'm looking forward to the next 6 episode season now.
Yeah, me too. I mean, this was solid. I think it was very well made, especially for something on sci-fi.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that is, I think we've mentioned it most weeks, but I think it's worth shouting out about it still because it is such a pleasant surprise to see so much effort into something.
yeah. Also, the idea that Gary like realizes he's not a sheriff anymore. Now he's just a dad. Like he has to focus on that full time. I just thought that was like a nice little moment as well.
Yeah,
And
there was a
Amy,
lot of like nice
yeah.
things, wasn't there?
And Amy gets to be sheriff now, and she chooses not to take down the painting of the dogs, even though she hated it in the first episode.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of nice like full circle kind of things coming in. So that's Channel Zero Candle Cove finale. Let us know what you thought of this finale and the entire season as a whole. Down in the comments below, of course. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.